Hello, fifth graders, and welcome to our seventh, I believe this is our seventh interactive read aloud online. Again, we've been reading Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. We've learned in our last video, in our last interactive read aloud, that Melody was introduced to her. Well, Melody was introduced. We were introduced to Melody's younger sister, Penny, and what Penny means in the story to Melody, what it meant to their family to add a new child, especially adding a child to a family that already has a child with disabilities, how that relationship interacted with the mom and the dad and Melody, and how Melody felt about her sister not having the same type of disabilities that Melody has, and how she kind of reflected on herself during that whole process. So we're going to read another chapter today. This is chapter 10. And then at the end, I will explain to you guys the activity that I have shared. I really appreciate you guys participating with these interactive read-alouds. I think they're a fun way for us to engage, and we'll kind of talk about it as we go. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. All right, here we go. Chapter 10. Penny wakes up every morning asking for her doodle, a soft brown stuffed animal that might be a monkey or maybe a squirrel. It's so beat up, nobody knows for sure what it really is. She drags it everywhere. Doodle, she cries if it's right next to her. Of course it sounds like doo-doo when she says it. That makes Dad crack up. I smile when I hear footsteps outside my door, big ones and little tiny ones. My mom and Penny, and Doodle, of course. Sometimes my legs and arms are stiff from being in the same position all night, and sometimes my toes tingle. My bedroom door opens. Dad never gets around to fixing that squeak. Mom traces a finger along my cheek. Maybe she's checking to see if I'm still breathing. I am. I open my eyes. I wish I could say good morning, but I just grin instead. She pulls me up and hugs me, rarely stopping to sit in the rocking chair anymore, and rushes me to the bathroom because I usually have to go really bad first thing in the morning. Penny trails behind us wearing a huge red and white hat like the one in Cat in the Hat. The girl has a major hat obsession, and always with her doodle. Butterscotch is never far from her. She lets Penny put hats on her and somehow endures Penny's hugs, which can sometimes feel more like a chokehold. I've gotten a few. She barks to alert Mom or Dad if Penny gets too close to an electric plug or the front door. Our bathroom is painted ocean blue and is large enough for Penny, Butterscotch, me, and Mom, and my chair without feeling crowded. That's a good thing because we spend lots of time in there. Penny and I make pretty big messes, but at least I don't have to wear diapers. It's bad enough that someone has to put me on the toilet, but diapers? Yuck. Even though the doctor said it would be impossible, by the time I was 3, Mom had me potty trained like any other kid my age. I hated sitting in dirty diapers, and she hated changing them. So I figured out a way to let her know I had to go, and she'd hustle me to the toilet. Mom and I can sometimes talk without words. I point to the ceiling, and she somehow just knows whether I'm talking about the ceiling fan, the moon, or the dark spots where the rain leaked through during the last thunderstorm. She can tell if I'm sad, and she can sense when I need a hug. She rubs my back and makes me relax when I'm pretty tense and upset. She tells dirty jokes sometimes when Dad isn't listening, and we both crack up. One morning, as she was getting me dressed for school, I pointed to her stomach and then covered my eyes, as if it were the sight were too much to look at. It was shortly after Penny had been born, and she still had a good-sized baby bulge. "You calling me fat?" she asked, acting insulted. I laughed a little and said, "Ugh," which is the closest thing I've got to yes. "Take it back," she said, tickling the bottom of my feet. Instead, I held my arms out like I was making a big circle and laughing out loud. Huge, enormous, like an elephant. I could tell she knew what I was thinking. We both rolled with laughter, and then she hugged me tight. I wish I could tell her that I loved her. Mom knows when I'm hungry or thirsty, or whether I need a glass of milk or just some water. She can tell if I'm really sick or simply faking it, because sometimes I do pretend I don't feel good just so I can stay home. She can tell My dog's in there playing with her tennis ball. I don't know if you can hear it. I do pretend I don't feel good just so I can stay home. She can tell what my temperature is just by feeling my forehead. She only uses a thermometer to prove that she's right. I can tell stuff about what she is thinking, too. By the end of the day, after she's been at the hospital all day, then fixed dinner, then bathed Penny and me and put me in bed, I can tell she's kind of reached her max. She breathes hard, her forehead is sweating. I sometimes reach out and touch her hand with mine, and I can feel her calm down, and she'll trace her fingers around my cheek, just like she does in the morning, and give me a kiss goodnight. Every Saturday morning after I've been fed, Mom reads the newspaper, while she has her coffee and Penny smashes bananas on her high chair tray. Butterscotch doesn't like fruit, but she stays close by just in case someone drops a piece of bacon. Mom's off on weekends, so she relaxes. She sometimes reads articles to me or tells me about the latest hurricane or uprising or explosion in the world. More fighting in the Middle East, she says. I've seen it on TV, bombs and tears and faces of fear. There's a new Superman movie coming out soon. She reads as she shakes the newspaper flat. Maybe we can go catch a matinee. I love superheroes, I guess. Superman is my favorite because he can fly. How great would that be? Mom reads me comic pages also. I like Garfield. Garfield is cheating on his diet again, Mom says. He ate John's lasagna and Audie's meatballs. I laugh and point at Mom's hips. You're calling me fat again, Miss Dee Dee, just because I finished off your spaghetti last night. I grin. You'll be sorry when I start feeding everyone lettuce for lunch. We both laugh. Mom not even close to being fat, but I like to tease her. We both laugh. Mom's not even, but I like to tease her. For my 10th birthday, I got a whole book of Garfield's cartoons. Now that's what's up. I made Dad read it to me over and over again. Garfield is a cat who has a lot to say, but all of his words are written in circles above his head. He can't really talk, of course, because he's a cat. But sometimes that's how I feel. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I had somebody to write the words over my head so people would know what I'm thinking? I could live with that. Large floating bubbles above me, speaking for me. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody could invent a bubble talking machine before 5th grade starts in a couple of weeks? Ha! When I try to talk, the words are exploding in my brain, but all that comes out are meaningless sounds and squeaks. Penny can say lots of words and pieces of words, but my lips come together to make even simple sounds. My lips won't come together to make even simple sounds, so most of my noises are vowels. I can say and ah pretty clearly, and if I concentrate sometimes I can squeeze out a b or a h, but that's it. My parents can usually figure out what I need just by listening carefully. To outsiders, I probably sound like one of those children who was raised by wolves. My communication board, even with everything Mrs. V has added to it, well, it sort of sucks. For example, one afternoon early this summer, I had a taste for a Big Mac and a shake, vanilla. I love fast food. Mom wasn't home, and getting my father to figure out what I want is sometimes a big job. I pointed to the picture of my dad, the word go, the word eat, and a happy face. That's all I had to work with. I gotta give him credit. He tried. He asked me a million questions, so I could point to yes or no. Are you hungry? Yes. Okay, I'll fix you some tuna salad. No, I pounded on the tray. I thought you said you were hungry. Do you want some spaghetti? No. Gentler this time. So what do you want? No answer. Nothing on my board could describe it. I pointed to go again. You want me to go to the kitchen and cook you something? No. You want me to go to the grocery store? No. I was starting to get upset, pounding the board with my right thumb once more. I don't get it. You said you wanted me to get you something to eat. Yes. Once again, I pointed to Dad's picture. Then go. Then eat. Then happy face. Yes. I could feel one of my tornado explosions starting. I started to kick, and my arms got all tight. It was driving me crazy that I couldn't tell him that I wanted a stupid Big Mac. Calm down, sweetheart, Dad said softly. My jaws felt like steel bars. I knew I was breathing heavy, and my tongue wouldn't stay in my mouth. I hit my board once more, aiming at no word in particular. "Oh!" I screeched. "I'm sorry, Melody, but I can't figure out what you mean. I'm going to fix you some noodles and cheese. Will that be okay?" I sighed, gave up, and pointed to yes. I calmed down while he cooked. The noodles were pretty good. A couple of weeks later, my dad and I were in the car, and we passed by a McDonald's. I screeched and kicked and pointed like Godzilla was coming down the street. Dad must have thought I was nuts. Finally, he said, "Would you like to stop and get a Big Mac and a shake for dinner tonight as a treat?" I shouted, "Ah!" as loud as I could, and kept on kicking with absolute delight as he pulled into the drive-thru. He never did make the connection between the fast food stop and my request a couple of weeks earlier. But that's okay. Even though it took us an hour to finish, it was one of the best hamburgers I've ever had. All right, that was a short chapter, and I would start the next chapter, but the next chapter is pretty long. And again, I don't want these videos to become like 30 minutes for you guys. So let's just discuss this chapter. That was chapter 10. And what we learned in that chapter was how Melody communicates with her mom and her dad. The similarities and the differences of communicating between her mom and her dad. By the sounds of it, her mom and her have a pretty good way of communicating with one another. Her and her dad, not so much. So what I'm going to do for you guys, I'm going to create a Venn diagram and create it on a Google slide. I want you to come up with the similarities and differences and of the way Melody feels about communicating with her mom and her dad. It talked a lot about jokes that she would talk about with her mom and different inside jokes. But then it talked about how her dad would try everything he could to understand her. So I want you to use this chapter to kind of create some similarities and differences on how Melody feels about communicating with her parents. Make sure you hit submit or turn in with the Google Slides so I get it, so I can see it and make comments and return it back to you guys. And I hope you like this chapter, and I'll see you guys again for another read aloud.